Okay, here we go again. What's up, everybody? My name is Game Over, and welcome to another top 5 favorite YouTubers and streamers as D&D classes in D&D. Yes, I am doing this again, and the reason why I'm doing this now is because I recently realized that I did Ichigo from V6. I added her into my latest one, but then I realized I haven't done all the other members of V6. And I kind of feel bad about not adding them in because I generally like their VTuber models. I think that they're really flipping cool and the concepts are absolutely amazing. And also they're just my V friends and I want to make a video on them. So I'm going to set myself some rules because I have breached these rules and because I'm meant to just make their D&D classes based off of what I think they are. Except they've already told me some of their backstory. Shirone gave me like a massive list on her backstory, which I just got lost in. I know a bit of Kohori's story. Ichigo already told me hers. I don't know much about Mitzi's or Hanako's. And yeah, it's just, I know some of their backstories, so should be in. So I'm gonna set myself a rule that this is what I think they would be in D&D based off of their outward design. Without their backstory, without them telling me their backstories or anything like that, what their base design is, that's what I'm gonna go off of. Like how Shirone is a ghost, I'm gonna try and figure out what exactly she will be in D&D. The fact that Kohori is a tree that turned into a human-looking creature, I'm gonna go based off of that. So, you understand. I know what I'm doing. Okay, so I'm going to begin. I have the list of the V6 model, V6 members. And this is going to get really difficult because I have not written a script for this. So I'm just going off of based what I think at this moment. So this is going to be interesting. We shall begin with Mitzi. Why? I have zero flipping reason why. I could start with any of them, but I choose Mitzi. So according to Mitzi's whole entire story, she's a forest spirit. There's a creature in D&D 5e called the Forest Spirit, aka the Shishigami. The Shishigami from what I'm reading, because I can't remember all of the things off my head, Shishigami are strange kami that resemble great stags and or Kirin. They are said to be distantly related to unicorns. They have a powerful and elegant body, somewhat like a moose, with a great mane of fur that comes from their neck. They also have a large crown or antlers on their head, which shines a brilliant white. Then there's a bunch more facts about them that I'm not going to get into, because it just gets more confusing as you read down. It makes sense to me, but for people who do not play D&D, it will make less and less sense. So, the Shishigami are said to have sort of antlers and sort of fur on their bodies, and obviously that's not the same depiction that Mitzi has. I'm gonna say that Mitzi is a special type of Shishigami, like how a race will slowly evolve over time. Like how if we are to continue with natural selection, apes manage to evolve into humans, and us humans are going to evolve even further to try and become immune to disease, probably learn to swim in water better and faster, and all that good stuff. It's basically, Mitzi is an evolved Shishigami that has lost its fur, and instead of growing antlers, has instead broadened their look upon themselves. So they don't just resemble deers, they actually also resemble other forest critters as well. And that's where Mitzi is going to reside. For what class Mitzi is, from the personality of me talking to Mitzi and getting to know who she is, I would say Mitzi is a rogue. she's conniving and sort of honed her skills in order to do sleight of hand. She can pickpocket someone in the blink of an eye, or is able to assess a situation in about 5 seconds. The reason why I'm saying rogue, it's because some of the stuff that she said to me, it just instantly makes me think she's that chaotic neutral person in the party that doesn't really do everything that everybody wants her to do, and instead just does whatever she wants to do, which I guess that just makes her alignment chaotic neutral. But then there's the factor that some of the stuff that she says she's going to do, just it screams rogue. So that's where I'm going with that. The class and the race is easy, but the part that's hard, backstory. I have an entire list right in front of me, and usually I have ages to look around inside it in order to get an idea of who the person is. However, I just have to look through all the words and try and pick the best one from what I see. But I think I know the perfect backstory. Fae child. So, to give a basic understanding of what the Fae is, the Fae is basically a realm outside of the mortal realm in D&D. There's the Feywild, which is basically where you see mystical forest critters, sort of like fairies, unicorns, if you will, forest spirits. They also reside in the Feywild. So, to give a description based off of what I'm reading, at a young age, you found yourself deep within the Feywilds. Were you lost in the woods, abandoned by your family, either by personal means or to fulfill a deal? Maybe kidnapped by fairies or other magical deities that were curious about what you were. Either way, for a major portion of your life, you grew up with many Fey beings, either with good or bad intentions, but after years within their realm, you found yourself back on the material plane, either by chance or on purpose. Maybe you were curious to learn where you came from. Maybe you wanted to escape those who held you captive. Whatever the reason, you're here now, and it's up to you to determine where your story heads from here. So, what I'm basically thinking of is Mitzi is a forest spirit. One day she is just a forest spirit is one day created from the manifestation of the Fae, and Mitzi becomes an actual forest spirit. A forest spirit starts out as this tiny little spark that can be easily mistaken for a pixie if not looking careful enough. Forest spirits are actually this tiny little light when they're first created, while pixies, they give off a light glow sort of thing. So if you're not paying close attention, you won't be able to tell that there's actually no one inside that sparkling light. The forest spirit will go around their place of home trying to find a sort of body to mimic or possess in order to feel good about themselves, because this is kind of like the Fae child getting to choose what form they're going to partake for the rest of their life. And once they choose, they cannot go back, because it's really hard, or they can, but it's really hard to manifest a different form once you've found one. You have to kind of train your body to partake a different form, and that could take years up to millennia in order to do. She chose to take the form of a rabbit, hence the Mitzi we have today. And that is Mitzi in D&D. Go and play as her all you want. So, the next one I want to do is I want to do Shirone. I want to do Shirone because Shirone seems like the easiest one to do at this moment. Pretty much the only thing I have to worry about is her background. So, with Shirone, the perfect race for her to be is undead. D&D has this weird sort of thing about races where if you are a zombie, skeleton, or ghost, you're always classified as an undead. You're not classified as a single race of undead, your race is undead. That's it. Which is kind of weird because she's classified as an undead, she doesn't get any of the special specifications of a ghost unless the DM decides to give her the specifications of a ghost. So, because I am the DM in theory, I'm going to say yes, she is able to go through walls as an undead because she's a ghost. It makes sense. However, I'm going to say that there's certain rules for her being in ghost form. She cannot go through walls that are like 15 feet thick because the walls are too thick for her to pass through. If she tries passing through the ground, she can only go about 10 feet before having to come back up. It's kind of like if you watched My Hero Academia, how he goes into the ground. His quirk is that he goes into the ground. He can move through objects. But when he goes through the ground, he kind of goes down and then gets shot back up. That's how this kind of works. She'll go down 10 feet into the ground and then get flung right back up to the surface if she tries to go any further. So I'm going to say that those are her rules for now. She cannot turn invisible, she cannot vanish, and she gains resistant to necrotic damage, except she takes double damage from holy or sort of what's the word? Restoration damage? I think that's it. I don't think it is, but whatever. We'll go with it. So yeah, her race is going to be undead with some very special rules because she's a ghost. The next thing that we have to do is we have to do our class. Now, I've gotten to talk to Shirone, so I instantly know what her class is going to be. It's going to be a bard, because a bard, they have this sort of... A bard gains their magic from singing, dancing, love of music, or from just words itself. Bards are extremely charismatic, able to pull you in. A bard can either be a poet that's sort of playing in a tavern to tell stories of adventurers as they travel the land, or they could be politicians able to smooth conversations and contracts over with their words. Business owners sort of thing. Except the reason I'm giving her a bod is not because of any of those reasons. I'm giving her the role of bod because bods get this one spell called Vicious Mockery. Any of you who do not know what Vicious Mockery is, you would not be playing D&D, because everyone who plays D&D knows about this spell because it's by far one of the best spells ever. Not because it's strong, but just because of what it implies. Vicious Mockery isn't a spell. It is you saying an insult at someone and them taking basically emotional damage, but they actually take psychic damage. So you throw an insult at someone, they roll a wisdom saving throw, and if they fail the saving throw, then they take 1d4 psychic damage at whatever it is you said. Now, from my latest video that just got uploaded, Shirone, you would probably tell, has this thing where she likes saying D's nuts a lot.
These nuts.
And I would like to think that Shirone's Vicious Mockery is just her shouting D's nuts at a dragon, and the dragon just flippin' explodes. So that's where I'm putting Shirone at. She's a bod just because of Vicious Mockery. And just because just because she doesn't really have anything else other than being a ghost, I'm gonna say that she's actually multi-classing. So she is pot, bod, and she's like 2 levels in bod and 3 levels in fighter. I'll say that. So she's multi-classing as a bod fighter, just so then she can do the Vicious Mockery. Now comes the hard part. I have to choose a backstory for her. I think the backstory I'm going for is from the past. So, to give a basic understanding, you don't belong here. You came from a time when things were different. The technology was more rudimented, and everything was perhaps just different. You are an anachronism, I don't know how to say that word, out of place in time. Somehow you were pulled from your own time in which in the future, you know this because you hear people talk of your time as the past, though to you it still feels like the present. What you once knew is now considered old-fashioned. Your clothes and weapons are of a making that may be superseded or obsolete. Your mannerism or laughter at the being so inadequate. There are a large gap in time here that is unaccounted for, that you did not live. Sorry if I'm reading so incredibly bad. I'm focusing on two things at once and I'm not good at reading. So basically, this is basically just saying that she's from a different time, but we're going to replace the like being plucked from a different time to she has lived for so long that when she died it was the past, but because she's a ghost she's gone to experience all of the experiences up to now. So it's less the fact that she was pulled from a different time and more so that she's gone to see through time. So everything is the present to her now. And that is Shirone, a fighter bod with the from the past backstory. There we go. Next, we are gonna go with Hanako. I want to go with Hanako because again, she's probably the easiest out of all of them. I know exactly what I'm going to give her. Her race, actually her race is probably her race is a little bit difficult, but she's not just a demon. Or at least from what I'm aware of. I'm just going to double check because I don't want to be wrong. Okay, so yes, I'm correct. Hanako isn't just a demon. She is basically Cthulhu. Like, massive demon overlord. She's literally, her destiny or so prophecy of this earth is for Cthulhu to destroy everything. Like, death to all. And Hanako is meant to be the one to do that, so this is really hard because I can't just say she's a demon, because she isn't just a demon, she is the be and end all of demons. However, there's also this weird thing of she looks human. Now, I have looked up a lot about Cthulhu. Cthulhu has never been able to transform into a human. He does not have the capability to do so. However, this is Hanako, so she can do whatever she wants with her lore. For the purpose of this D&D, to have it make sense in D&D terms, because I'm trying my best to stick as much to the rules as I can until I cannot, I'm gonna homebrew this a bit. I'm gonna add in another race. There's gonna be a race of higher demons. This race is for characters like Asmodeus, Asmodeus, Titiphilus, and Cthulhu. Higher demons are these demons. If you do not know who Asmodeus is, he is in D&D the king of hell. Whole ass Satan. And he is kind of trapped in the 9 hells. Like, in D&D, hell isn't just a place where people's souls go to get punished for the rest of eternity. It's not just a trap for them. The demons themselves are trapped in hell themselves. Each higher demon gets a different stage of hell to be trapped in. Some of them are bigger than others, with the smallest part of hell being the 9th stage of hell, where Asmodeus lives. And he literally just sits in a castle and is trapped there for the rest of eternity. He cannot go anywhere. And I'm going to say that Hanako is amongst them. I'm going to say that Hanako, I'm going to homebrew Cthulhu a bit in my own D&D universe just to have this make sense. And I'm going to say that Hanako isn't just Cthulhu. She's kind of a half-blood of a demon, where she has not just the blood of a very high demon that can destroy the world. Cthulhu is a mix of each and every being in both hell and the mortal realm. So she is able to take on the form of most creatures in D&D. This allows her to get the shapeshift feat or ability straight off the bat. This meaning that she can shapeshift into any creature in the mortal plane as long as she has seen them once. Because she'll be able to know exactly what they look like and shapeshift into that type of creature. So she'll be a higher demon. Yes, I'm making this up as I go, but I need to have this make sense somehow, and I'm not really breaking the game by doing this. It just means that at level 1, she's going to be resistant to fire, resistant to necrotic damage, and also she does not take, and also she gains the ability to shapeshift into anything that she's seen once. This includes animals as well, which kind of makes the druid class go out of style, but whatever. It makes sense, okay? I'm trying my best. Now, class is a little bit tricky when talking about Cthulhu, because Cthulhu is a higher demon, and in D&D, one of your patrons, if you want to be a warlock, you can have one of your patrons be Cthulhu. If you do not know what a patriot is, a patriot in D&D is basically a higher up sort of devil being. It can either be like a Feywild, the Raven Queen, Cthulhu, and they basically give you your power. They are basically giving you magic and giving you your powers. Cthulhu is hard because I can't say he's a sorcerer, because sorcerers are typically on the weaker end of the magic scale. I can't say he's a wizard because no, he doesn't study magic. He just gains the ability to have magic, and he cannot be a warlock because he creates warlocks. However, so Cthulhu is hard to give a class. However, I'm not giving a class to Cthulhu. I'm giving a class to Hanako. And Hanako is so much easier to get a class for. Hanako's a bard, because remember what I said about Shirone? Or about picking a class for Shirone? Bards are musical geniuses. They write poems, they write songs about epic quests of adventurers long and far, and they go on quests themselves to create adventurers, and to create adventures for them to sing about in taverns all across the land. This is Hanako to a T, because Hanako is a flippin' fabulous singer that deserves the bard. And I would like to think that because of her singing prowess, she's able to use her voice to create some really flippin' amazing spells. Like, just her higher pitch is able to cast Fireball on 9th level. I would love that. She just starts doing an opera pitch at the highest level she can, and a fireball just appears in front of her and then just gets launched. That would be flippin' amazing. I want that now. Her background would be hard, again, if I was talking about Cthulhu, but I'm not. I'm talking about Hanako. Her background's gonna be entertainer, because you ain't no singer unless you're an entertainer, and you ain't no entertainer unless you're a singer. It goes hand in hand. She is an entertainer by far, and that is Hanako to a T. A higher demon, bard, entertainer. There you go. Now, I got 2 more people left. I want to do them both, but I'm gonna stick with one, because one of them I really want to... One of them I already figured out what they are in D&D, and they told me I was wrong and told me the actual backstory to their character, or a bit of it. However, this is D&D, and while it is possible for that to happen, it's very unlikely. So, I'm gonna go with the most likely thing. Do not get angry with me. I've, like, destroyed multiple VTuber concepts in D&D, so do not get angry about this, Kohori, but I'm doing this my way, so sit back, relax, and please do not get angry at me. Okay, so, Kohori, her race is going to be a dryad. Now, if you do not know what a dryad is, or another name for them is a nymph, basically, a dryad or nymph is I kid you not, literal tree that got turned into a human-like creature that is sworn duty is to protect the forest. Basically, a dryad is sort of, a dryad is a tree that becomes a mortal sort of human-like creature and can live for as long as they want, as long as the tree they are connected to is healthy. Dryad has a sort of psychic connection with a tree, and if the tree is healthy and full of life, then she looks absolutely beautiful, stunning, yada yada yada. And if the tree is dead, it's not that she looks ugly. It's the fact that when the tree dies, the dryad begins to lose her mind, lose her sanity. she starts getting more aggressive. She loses the thoughts of protecting the forest like she once used to, and instead turns to this sort of dark elf sort of look where her entire skin has turned from a green or skin color to a just dark shade of black. Her eyes turn silver. You can see that instead of beautiful flourishing on her, instead it turns to like this sort of cryptic hard bark that is sort of on her. I can show a picture of the concept of what it would look like. It's really flippin' cool. This is a really flippin' cool race, and I would gladly want to play a round of D&D where one person is a dryad, because then flipping coming up with a character arc for them would be easy, because I can have a moment where their forest is in danger, meaning their tree is in danger, and the party kind of has to help them or risk one of their party members literally turning insane, unable to help it. Or who knows, maybe I could have a dryad whose tree is already destroyed and has been exiled from the forest that they were sworn to protect, leaving them to go into human civilization while also having to deal with the fact that they are slowly but surely, indefinitely going insane. And there's nothing they can do about it. That is such a cool character thing. But we're not here to talk about character thoughts. We're here to talk about Kohori. And Kohori, as far as she has said, she hasn't said her backstory yet, and I'm going this based not on her backstory, but what I hear with the basic premise. Her basic premise is that she is a tree that got turned into a human. Is that not a dryad? A tree that got turned into a human-like creature. I'm sorry, Kohori, but not going off of your actual backstory, that is a dryad to a T. And even going off of your backstory, that still sounds like a dryad to a T. What her class is, this is tricky. Because I've hanged out with Kohori, but none of her real personality or anything that she says that she'll do, that she does, kind of makes it sort of stand out what kind of class she is. She's kind of a mixture of a lot. I would say that so I'm going to try multi-classing her. I'm going to say that her class, when shouted out to me, sounds like sort of two levels in rogue, because she is kind of smart and conniving and is able to look at a problem while also having sleight of hand. That sounds like something she would be able to do. Not to mention, I would say that she's a druid. So druid is sort of a nature class where it's sort of, they're sworn to make the natural circle of nature keep on going. So forests burn down, fires burn down forests regrow, and that cycle keeps on continuing. Basically, the circle of the forest just keeps going. Prey gets eaten by carnivores, they become the grass, yada yada yada, the circle of life. That's what a dryad is made to do. But I also want to give them one level in sorcerer, because dryads, while they are druids and dryads, while they are magical beings, sorcerer is just that one up to give her a couple more spells at her disposal. So I would say that she is a sorcerer, druid, rogue, because they're on the weaker end of magic uses for sure, but it leaves a lot of room for her to grow as a character instead of just being dumbed down to one type of character like all the other classes. So I would say sorcerer, druid because she is sworn to protect the forest, and rogue because of her personality. Hopefully I did that right. Now comes the hardest part. The hardest part is that I somehow have to come up with a backstory for this. Okay, so from looking at all of this, looking at everything, I think I have to make her also a Fey child background along with Mitzi. Because from rereading the entire thing from the Feywild, this seems like what would have most likely happened. I'm gonna break the rules a bit and also go back to her background. I'm not gonna say what her background is, but I'm just gonna say that this fits her actual background a lot and would make a lot of sense from the full story. So, at a young age, you found yourself deep within the Feywilds, where you lost in the woods, abandoned by your family, whatever. Where to escape your captive, you left the Feywild, yada yada yada. I already read all this, but my thoughts are a higher being, probably. She turned from a tree to a dryad, and then left the Feywild. Some higher magic kind of transformed her into a dryad. Then she left the Feywild to go and protect a different forest, thus she's now forever safe, because technically the tree she's connected with is in an entire different realm. So she can sort of just wander and explore the world at her leisure without having to worry about her tree getting destroyed, because it's literally in another realm. And the Feywild is a beautiful and lush forest that will forever be blooming and forever stay like that until somebody comes along and picks a flower up. So I would say that that's basically Kohori. So Kohori is a dryad, aka nymph, with the sorcerer, druid, and rogue class. And also, her background is Feychild along with Mitzi, so now they have something to bond on. Hooray! Okay, so now it is time. It is time for something that is... It's time for the lost person in V6. Fudge me. I have zero clue where to begin with this one. I feel like beginning with class, but if I don't begin with race, then I'm going to regret it. But this one is so hard to judge. Basically, okay. Akusaya. I hope I'm saying that name right. Akusaya is basically the basic concept of Akusaya is that it's two souls inhabiting one body. So there's two souls in one body, and that is Akusaya. So I'm guessing they're both probably talking to each other and deciding what both of them want to do when traveling the world. Sometimes she gets into arguments with herself, but she's not having arguments with herself. It's two people in her body having an argument. So that makes sense. And also, I just love her character design because, oh my flippin' god, look at those two interchanging eyes. That stuff just gets me so easily. Two eyes with two different eye colors, that stuff is just... Ugh, my queen. I love it too much. So, with the knowledge of what I've been told, I'm gonna say there's two things that she could be. She could either be a construct along with Ichigo. But while Ichigo is a construct as she's literally made of metal, Akusaya is a different kind of construct where organic material was used to create a vessel. And then those two souls were taken and placed inside that vessel. So her body technically isn't any one person's body. Her body was made by someone to house two souls. Because I don't know about you, but trying to suck out someone's soul and then place it in another body, it doesn't end well for the person whose soul got sucked out of them, and it doesn't end well for the person you're trying to put a soul into. So this body has to be specially designed in order to hold two cells. So it's either she is a construct or she's a human, just straight human, and some mystical, magical power of a complete miracle managed to get her to hold two souls in her body. By some miracle. I have to go with that, because otherwise it doesn't make sense. It makes zero sense how there are two people inside one body. And even then, with a human having two souls in their body, it still doesn't make sense. A miracle has to happen where a god flippin' came up to her and was just like, hey, you right there. Zap, you can now steal someone's soul and house two souls in your body. Enjoy having two heads in your head. I'm just gonna say that she's a construct and leave it at that because that makes the most amount of sense. Just know that she could also just be a human that got really, really lucky. So, I'm saying race is a construct. Her class, from what it seems like it would make sense why she would be able to multitask or multiclass because she has two people in her head. So, basically, these two souls, both of them could be good at a different thing, or they could both be really good at one thing, which could like double their proficiency. Oh my god. I just realized the amazingness of having two souls. Technically, if you work with your DM, you could have it that this person with two souls, because they have two souls in their body, if both of them are good at the same thing, then that means you get double your proficiency. So at level 1, when you get a proficiency of 2, that proficiency of 2 would instead be a proficiency of 4. And when you're up to probably like 15 or something, and your proficiency is like 13 or something, then that gets doubled, making it instead 26. Your proficiency is 26, meaning that if you're proficient in stealth and you have two souls in you, that proficiency gets doubled, meaning that instead, if you get to a certain level, if you roll an 8, because no roll as a rogue can be below 9, your roll gets instantly buffed to a 10. And then you have your proficiency, which instantly makes it 36. Then you have the fact that rogues also have this ability that makes anything they're proficient in, you gain like double proficiency in that thing that you're proficient with, meaning that the 36, the 26, I'm losing count of numbers, the 26 then becomes doubled, meaning that it's actually now like 52. So then her proficiency, then the character's proficiency becomes 52, meaning 10 plus 52 equals 62. You could roll a 62 in sneaking. You would not just be hidden behind a barrel. You would jump into the barrel, turn invisible, disappear, and then the barrel would turn invisible along with you. I just broke the game, but literally the DM has to be okay with this, because this is going off of the fact that there's no actual rule for having two souls in one body in D&D. This is going straight off of homebrew. This could break the game if not careful. Don't do what I just said. But basically, I would imagine that these two souls both souls in Akusaya are both completely different. They both have two different things that they're interested in and two different things that they're good at. So I'm gonna say that she's multi-classing 1 level in fighter and 1 level in sorcerer. This way, it allows her to. It's not the fact that one soul is good at fighting and one soul is good at casting magic. I'm saying that because there's two souls in her, this one vessel gains the ability to be good at weapons, and also one of them might be attuned to magic. So the body then begins to be able to do magic. But sorcerers are good because you could literally give any character the class of sorcerer and they still have anything that they can be, unlike any other class who's boiled down to one specific thing. And fighter can just be, so then as a sorcerer, when you run out of spell slots, you can pick up a sword and still be useful, instead of just, oh, I'm out of spell slots, I'll pick up this dagger, and even though I can't use a dagger, I'll try to stab him. You can pick up a long sword and you can still do damage. So this kind of keeps Akusaya flexible in order to become whatever character she wants to be, based on these two souls, leaving a whole open road. It's not just one path that she can follow by choosing class. There's an entire world out there that she can become just from these two souls getting to choose what they're going to do in the same body, which makes this interesting. Now comes the hard part, which is also the background. I could just do what I did with Ichigo, where Ichigo's race and also background are literally the same thing. Her Ichigo's race is construct, while her background is also construct, because for some reason they decided to make the name for both. I could make Akusaya also a construct, which basically means that people are aware that she is that she has two souls in her, and she's not an actual real human that was made by normal means. However, I want to make this semi-different. I want to make this semi-different from Ichigo, because then people will look at these two pieces of paper and go, well, apart from the class, what's different about them? I'm going to say that Akusaya is an explorer. My thoughts are being created. Now she's here. She exists. Two souls in one body. I would think that Akusaya, both souls are probably really confused with how they're here and are trying to figure out why they're so different from everybody. I would imagine that no one actually told her that she doesn't actually have a mom and dad, and she wasn't created by normal means, that she was artificially created. So I would imagine that she's going on an adventure to figure out why she's so different from everybody. Imagine Maya from Borderlands 2, how she was raised in a church and with mystical powers that she didn't understand, and when she finally broke off from the rules of the church, she then decided, I'm gonna go to Pandora to find answers on why I have these mystical powers and what I'm meant to do with this. I would imagine that Akusaya is sort of the same, where she's here, she exists, two people in one body. I would think that she's now on an adventure to try and figure out why is she like this and what is she meant to do now that she's here. So I would expect that she's the explorer, kind of traveling around everywhere, trying to understand how mortals correlate with each other, and trying to learn how to get along with each other in her own head. So that is what I think Akusaya would be in D&D. She is a construct, fighter, sorcerer, and she has the explorer background. And with that, that is the end! Thank God! I sat here for like an hour trying to put the perfect combination in, and later today, I'm probably gonna argue with myself and think, wait, no, there's probably something better for this. So I'm going to stop recording now and just go brain dead for the rest of the day and not think of anything that I just talked about, because I'll drive myself mad if I do. So, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you all did enjoy it. I hope I did not, offend any members of V6 by giving them these sort of backgrounds. I'm doing this based off of D&D, so it's not the fact that I'm saying, oh, your VTuber story lore is wrong. I'm actually the exact opposite. I love your VTuber stories. I enjoy reading them, and I enjoy the lore, because stories are one thing that I love. You want to tell me a story, I will sit down and listen. And maybe if I think that something should have done better, I will critique it a bit, but I will never flat out say that a story is bad, because all of these stories that I've heard from VTubers, they're genuinely amazing and I enjoy reading them. I'm just trying to tweak the stories so then they make sense in D&D terms. I will do homebrew if it's impossible, but if I can, I want to try and use the D&D stories to make your character exist in D&D without going into homebrew, so then you can just run up to a DM and say, hey, I'm playing this character, and there's nothing you can do to stop me, because the rules of D&D specifically say that this is allowed, even though the Dungeon Master decides anything, so he can literally decide you're not allowed to use that character, so whatever I say doesn't matter anyway. Anyway, thanks again for watching, everybody. I hope you all did enjoy it. Follow me on Twitter, Twitch, all that good stuff, and subscribe, do everything. I don't care. I'm tired, and I want to go brain dead, but I'm probably not going to. Now that I'm on a D&D roll, I'm probably going to end up thinking about D&D campaigns that I can probably do. So, bye, everyone. Bye.